Data suggests that if you can walk 500 feet at a speed of 0.8 meters per second, you are considered a community ambulator. And in most cases, when you hit this milestone, most outpatient rehab facilities consider you to have met all of your walking goals. This milestone basically means you can walk from your car to the entrance of a public building, and 0.8 meters per second basically means that you can walk at a speed fast enough to cross a crosswalk. But what if you want to walk into a football stadium, or you want to walk into a movie theater, you want to walk around a theme park, or you don't just want to be able to get to the entrance of a store, but you actually want to be able to go shopping and walk around the store? What are you supposed to do then? Should you have goals beyond just this 500 feet? Absolutely. And that is the purpose of today's video. If you're new to this channel, I'm Tara. I'm a neurologic physical therapist, and on this channel we talk about anything and everything related to mobility, health, fitness, mindset in the context of neurologic injury, with the end goal of empowering you with as many tools as possible to reach your highest maximum level, and not just be independent, but actually live an active, healthy life. And that leads right into the topic of today's video. In this video, you're going to learn why you should have a goal where you can walk longer distances, longer than that 500 feet, at faster speeds, some of the barriers associated with making that jump from just barely being a community ambulator into being able to get more of the fitness and health benefits out of walking, and of course a plan to go from what I'm considering more of a sedentary lifestyle to more of an active lifestyle. So first and foremost, why is this so important? Well, I'm making this video because most people are under the impression that once they reach that rehab goal, that you're good. And a lot of you think that that's the case because you don't really do a lot of things. You don't go to theme parks. You don't go to movie theaters. You don't do a lot of these things that I mentioned earlier as to some of the benefits or why you might want to improve your walking distance. However, if you are hovering right around that other end of the spectrum where you're barely being able to walk into a store, in my experience, in most cases, a lot of people that are at that lower end are what I consider to be more of living a sedentary lifestyle, which has a ton of health risks associated with it, including coronary artery disease, obesity, diabetes, and once you've had a stroke, you're already at an increased risk for having another stroke. And living a sedentary lifestyle on top of that just increases that risk that you might have another stroke. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, being able to walk these longer distances, it just opens the door for you to be able to live a more active lifestyle. Now, not everyone's going to be here, but I'm just going to tell you what the CDC recommendation is because I do think this is a good goal for everyone to have in mind, especially coming into this new year. The CDC recommends for all adults to maintain just basic health, you should be doing 150 minutes of moderate exercise every single week. Now, I know a lot of you aren't there yet, but I'm just telling you that that is what the CDC considers as kind of like the bare minimum to maintain health. And in my opinion, and I use it quite a bit to increase my activity level, walking is a great way to start increasing or improving your overall activity level with the end goal of getting to this point of living an active lifestyle. And again, I don't want you to focus too much on that number, especially if you're at the other end of the spectrum. I promise you, at the end of this series, regardless of where you're at in this process, there's going to be a way to go from, I'm going to give you a plan to go from where you are right now to that point of being more active. But before we get there, let's go over some of the main barriers that might be preventing a lot of you from getting to that next level of developing your walking fitness. One is fear of falling. Obviously, if you do fear falling, going in the wheelchair just seems like the logical answer to be able to enjoy your experiences when you go outside the house. Pain, so joint pain and muscle pain can be another reason why you kind of hover more at that lower end and can't really go to that next level where you're walking longer distances at faster speeds. Difficulty breathing is super scary for a lot of people. You start to feel like you're not getting enough oxygen in and your body just kind of panics. So that's another reason why you might feel more comfortable being on the lower end of that activity scale versus starting to develop a more active lifestyle, is that's just super uncomfortable. Fear of getting stranded. Trust me, this is a fear for a therapist too. When we start to push you outside your comfort zone a little bit and tell you to start leaving the wheelchair in the car, it makes us a little bit nervous too. So I can only imagine what it must feel like to not know if you're going to be able to get to your destination if you don't have that wheelchair with you, or if you get there, not being able to get back. So that's another reason why people might hover on that lower end of the activity scale versus really kind of pushing those limits a little bit and increasing your walking throughout the day. And the last one, your well-meaning therapist has put limitations on you for whatever reason. Maybe your therapist is afraid you're going to fall. Maybe your therapist is afraid you're going to get stranded. Maybe your therapist is afraid that you're going to run out of oxygen when they're not there. Whatever the case may be, yes, we have a tendency to err on the conservative side, but it really is a detriment to you when you are trying to improve your overall activity level and kind of push yourself beyond that level of walking longer distances at faster speeds. And the other one, and I'm super guilty of this, and I am going to address this in this video, is that we don't want you to develop bad habits. And if you've been following me for a while, you know that I'm the first one to put the brakes on someone's walking, especially if you have a ton of bad habits, because I don't want you to have muscle pain, joint pain, and a lot of the other things that come along with bad habits. So I'm just pointing that out because it is going to get into why I have some of the things in the plan that we're going to go to when we get to the plan component of this series. So based on all of those kind of problem areas or barriers to being able to get the fitness benefits of walking, I've kind of broken this down into 3 kind of legs of this rehab program that are important to improve your walking fitness. One is your overall balance and balance confidence. So that's going to be one kind of silo of exercises that need to be incorporated into this program. The other one is working on your pulmonary fitness or your lungs' ability to get oxygen into your body or your overall endurance. So that's another leg that needs to be addressed that we need to slowly be improving. And then the third leg, and always, you know I'm going to say this, there is a section where you do need to continue to work on those foundational movements to maintain good quality movement as much as possible. So those are kind of like the 3 main areas that I think should be incorporated into a well-balanced rehab routine with the end goal of improving your overall fitness level. So in this video today, we're really just going to go over balance and improving balance confidence. So first, let's talk about what balance is. If you're new to this channel, I did a really in-depth video on balance, and I think it's really important to watch that video. So I'll put a link for that in the description below to understand really kind of everything that's going on for our brain and our body to work together to maintain us in an upright position. But balance, big picture, is the body's ability to maintain our center of gravity, our body, over our base of support or our feet. And balance is the ability of our body to adjust via small, quick hip, knee, and ankle movements to reposition our center of gravity over our base of support if the center of mass is disrupted. So that is balance, big picture. Maintain our body over our feet, and if it gets thrown outside of our base of support, having the ability to quickly bring it back within the base of support. So what do we need for this? Well, there's a lot of sensory information coming in from the body to the brain, from our joints and our muscles. There's information coming in from our eyes. So those images that are being flashed into the back of our brain kind of tell our brain where our body is in space based on the surrounding environment. There's also information coming in from the vestibular organ in the inner ear, which kind of helps our brain to learn when the head is tilted, which is extremely important. Then the brain needs to quickly and almost instantaneously take all this information in, process it, send messages to the muscles so that they can make the necessary adjustments. Again, to maintain our body or our center of mass over our base of support, our feet. So that is balance in a nutshell. Again, I did an entire video on this. I will put a link for that in the description below. If you're new to this channel, I highly recommend that you go back and watch that video. Again, it's very, very critical to know if you are afraid when you go out in public to walk around. It's important to know what's really going on inside your brain and your body so you can start addressing some of these issues. So now within this balance leg, there's some critical kind of balance exercises or activities that I think are extremely important regardless of what stage you're at in the recovery process. You want to be able to move your head, so your brain needs to know how to adapt when those images that are being flashed into the back of the brain are moving because your head is moving. So you want to kind of recreate that type of a situation in a controlled environment so your brain can learn how to process that information when your head is moving and those images are moving. So we do sitting and standing balance activities where you do head movement and eye movement. Again, just teaching the brain how to adapt to those movements and get accurate information into the brain regarding where your body is in space. So for the eye component of this, my suggestion is if you're in the really early stages, start sitting to do this, but you're basically just going to start with your feet shoulder width apart, whether you're sitting or standing, and just move your head side to side. Right? So now those images that are getting flashed in the back of the brain, they're being disrupted a little bit. So for most of you, you already know that when you turn your head, you feel off balance. So we're just going to retrain that system. Get more comfortable with those images not being crystal clear that are getting flashed into the back of our head. So just going to turn your head side to side and just give that information to your brain and let it get real comfortable with figuring out how to adjust and maintain your center of gravity, your body, over your base of support. And then the other key component to this is learning how to stabilize our eyes on a stationary object. So you want to kind of put something out in front of you and then just turn your head side to side and really work on learning how to stabilize your eyes on that stationary object with head movement. That's actually a balanced strategy as well. If you can find a reference point in the environment and keep your eyes fixed on it, that really does help your brain to settle down a little bit more and give it more accurate information as to where your body is in space to help make those balance response reactions a little bit more accurate. And then where do we go from there? Once you get really comfortable with your feet on a firm surface, then you can move to something that's a little bit more wobbly or a little softer and do the same thing. Just start with head movement, side to side, up and down. And then you can progress to eyes fixated on a stationary object. So moving your head side to side with your eyes fixed, up and down with your eyes fixed. And then you can make that harder just by bringing your feet close together. That would be a progression. And then side to side. And then up and down. So now we've narrowed the base. And then you can narrow the base even more by putting your feet in a straight line. So let me turn this so my feet will fit. And feet in a straight line, and same thing, side to side. You can see my ankles really having to work to keep me balanced. And then up and down. And then same thing. Now you can see I'm in a corner. I highly recommend that you do these balance activities in a corner. Walls just give you a little bit more safety, so if you do lose your balance, you're not going to fall down, but you might just fall into the wall. But they also serve as reference points. So out of your periphery, your eyes can kind of see those walls a little bit. Those are flashing images onto the back of your brain as well, and giving your brain more information about where your body is in space. So I highly recommend starting in a corner for this. So this is we just finished working on coordinating the eyes and the head movement and getting all of those muscles and those systems really much more reactive. The foam added another component, now kind of working those neuromuscular systems of getting those muscles. You could see my ankles were working really hard. Believe it or not, my hip muscles and my knee muscles were also working really hard to help keep me balanced when I was moving my head. So my head movement, because those images on the back of my brain were kind of moving a little bit, it was throwing me off balance, and the brain quickly recognized that, processed it, noticed that I was swaying a little bit, and made those quick hip, knee, and ankle adjustments to help reposition my center of gravity, my body, over my base of support. So the foam was incorporating some strengthening of those muscles that help us to maintain our balance. The other part of the balance program really just needs to be developing the strength in all the muscles that are required that make those quick little reactions. So getting on different surfaces that kind of throw you off balance, that immediately makes that brain take in that information really quickly and develop those responses. Good to practice those in a controlled environment first, so that when you get out into the public, you do feel more confident, you feel safer, regardless of what environmental barriers you're going to face, that your body will have the ability to get that motor output quickly so that your body can react and keep you standing and prevent a fall. So just standing on the wobble board with our feet shoulder width apart to start. And I would just start learning how to stand. You can see it's even shaking a little bit with me because it's a very unstable surface. And you can see everything's working, hip, knees, and ankles, to help keep me balanced. So you're strengthening all of those systems. So this is a great way to, again, build that balance confidence so that you feel confident going out into the community. And then you can turn it. This will just challenge a different set of muscles and put it so that it tilts in the forward-backward direction, and same thing. You can see my ankle muscles have to work a little bit differently now to help keep me balanced. And then if you really feel comfortable, you could try and do some of those head movements while you're on here. That again is just adding another challenge. It's disrupting kind of what your brain perceives the environment to be, like those reference points. It's disrupting those a little bit. So everything has to be a little bit more on point. Your brain is having to take in information, adapt or adjust, maybe not use those visual images as much to know where your body is in space, and it has to rely a little bit more on other senses, maybe those pressure sensors in our feet. So long story short is just all those systems are learning how to work together. So balance with head and eye movement, dynamic balance on different surfaces, and then what I call dual task activities. So you want distractions. You want to be able to throw distractions in there so that those systems, that input system, processing system, and output system has to be more automatic. If you're distracted, that means you can't really think about it as much, and it's really, really, really important to get to that automatic level so that you have the confidence to ditch the wheelchair, leave it at home, and start working on your walking fitness. The other thing I mentioned was a dual tasks. There are a ton of different things that you can do for this. You don't need a lot of equipment to challenge your balance with a dual task. You can find anything. A beach ball works well. Start with your feet shoulder width apart and just kind of work on bouncing that beach ball up in the air. You can see it adds a little bit of unpredictability too, so you don't know where that ball is going to go. So you are having to kind of adjust like on the spot to keep that ball in the air. So that would be one kind of dual task, but also adding an element of unpredictability, which is also really critical when going into unfamiliar environments. So you could do that. You could bounce it against the wall. You can just get creative with this. But again, introducing some kind of a dual task. You can see also with the ball, you are kind of challenging your eyes. You maybe can't rely on your eyes as much because your eyes are trying to keep track of the ball to maintain your balance. So it is kind of forcing your brain to adjust or shift to maybe rely more heavily on other sensory information to help make those adjustments, appropriate adjustments. So really you can add just about anything. But again, there's an entire category on balance exercises. So I do have some of these exercises in their own individual exercises, but this is just kind of giving you a gross overview of what balance entails or how to build your balance confidence and just a few examples of ways to challenge that or improve that. So I hope that was helpful. Again, this is just one leg in a well-rounded program to improve your overall walking fitness, which in turn is going to improve your overall activity level and your overall just fitness and health in general, which is the end goal of this series. Next week, we're going to go into more of how to develop your endurance. So those of you that get a little bit shorter breath, it makes you a little bit nervous, and therefore it kind of discourages you from wanting to go out and walk those longer distances. We're going to go into developing a plan to go from those of you that are maybe spending most of your day sitting or laying down, how to start building that endurance where your lungs are becoming more efficient at getting oxygen into your body. Part of that panic response that you have is 1000% legit. Your brain and your body know that they need oxygen. When your lungs are not efficient, they're not getting a high concentration of oxygen into the blood, your body does kind of go into panic mode, which again makes you less efficient, changes your breathing pattern, makes you run out of more oxygen, and it's just a vicious cycle. So eventually some of you just stop walking those longer distances because you know that experience is so awful. So anyway, we're going to work on exercises. I'm going to give you exercises to work on that so that you can start building that endurance. And then the last part of this series, again, is going to be how do we incorporate the two? How do we work on improving walking distance and speed without sacrificing quality movement, which is so important to prevent you from ending up being one of those people that does have pain due to developing really bad habits. There is a balance here. There is a fine line between doing too much of the wrong stuff and not doing enough activity to maintain or improve your overall health. So definitely make sure you come back for that installment in this series. But that is it for this video. If you're new to this channel and you haven't yet subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell so that you'll get notified every time I upload new videos. Please comment below with where you feel like you're at in your journey to becoming healthier, not just moving better or being independent, but actually to improving your overall health and fitness. Do you think you're on the more sedentary side of things? Do you think you're on the more active side of things? Just trying to get an idea of who's in this community and what types of videos to do in the future. If you have a question, also leave that in the comments below, or even better, sign up for our monthly lives where you can submit questions in advance, and it's a smaller group setting over Zoom where I will go through and answer each one of your specific questions. If you're not following us on Instagram, definitely head over there. We post exercises every week to just help keep you on track and maybe add a little bit of variety into your current home exercise program. I enjoyed spending time with you all today, and I will see you in the next video. Have a good day.